How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Manatee Gaming. So in today's video, I'm actually going to be showing you something a little bit different than what I normally show you. I don't do a whole lot of old school RuneScape videos, but today I decided to go ahead and do an old school RuneScape video simply because I have hit one of my goals on here. Actually, this was basically my goal from when I started playing like super casually on old school RuneScape. As you can see with my stats here, they are not the greatest. Also, sorry for the weird screen setup. I am really not optimized to do old school RuneScape videos. So I was like, well, I could sit here and spend like an hour or two trying to make this look perfect, or just make it look decent and then go ahead and make the video so I can make more videos. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that route. So right here, you can see this is my old school RuneScape account. It is on my Fat Munchlax account. So if you're wondering what I mostly do on my Fat Munchlax, it's actually, old school RuneScape. Although what I do in old school RuneScape is I've got these stats that I started to build up. If you look on my channel, you can also see some of the older stats. Like some of the older videos of how I was getting some stats, but I don't really train on it too much right now. Mostly what I do is I actually do overnight flipping. So as you can see right here, I do have this stack of 101 million gold. If you look right here on game, you see it's 101,282,614. So the cool thing about this, and the reason why I wanted to show this, is because I started on this account with 0 gold. I basically had my 1 GP and I just flipped all the way up to 100 million. Now, if you watch my old videos, you saw I got some kind of drops or whatever. Not much. Like, honestly, I was killing like hill giants, so I didn't really get much money. But I have transferred off of this account about 27 million gold to somebody who was wanting to get some old school RuneScape gold for their RuneScape 3 money. So technically I have gotten up to 128 million. So anything that I've gotten from doing skills or anything like that is definitely off the account. I have done my 0 GP or my 1 GP to 100 million. And that was one of my goals. Now, I didn't make a whole series about it, and the reason why is because this is actually taking quite a bit of time. To be honest, this is taking quite a lot of time. It's probably, it's been months and months. And the reason why mostly is because all I do on this account actually is I just do overnight flipping. I don't do like stand here and do daily flipping. That's not really my thing for my old school RuneScape account. I literally just set overnight flips. So I want to give you guys a little bit of information about flipping on old school RuneScape. I know because I don't really talk about that too much because most of my account, channel is for RuneScape 3. But what I want you guys to understand is that if you have membership on your RuneScape 3 account, then there's not really much reason to not also be playing old school RuneScape. And the reason why I say that is because you can literally log in with your account into old school RuneScape, and since you have memberships, you'll be able to have full access to old school. And then you can literally start with your 1 GP, or you could go do some basic training or whatever and get a little bit more money, and then start just doing overnight flipping. And that's literally what I did in order to build up this account. Like 100% honestly, I've gotten my 100 million cash stack now from just doing overnight flips. And like I said, it did take a long time. It wasn't instantly. But the thing is, though, is if you convert this over to RuneScape 3, this ends up being about 707 million, 708 million, rough like that. So I've made like an extra 700 million gold by simply just doing overnight flips and not really paying any attention to the game. So let me give you a little bit of an idea of how to flip an old school RuneScape, because flipping on old school RuneScape is actually pretty dramatically different than flipping on RuneScape 3. Anyone who says that it's not, maybe they're just not great at flipping on old school RuneScape, or they're just talking out of their butt. But the thing is it actually is quite a different marketplace, and the way the Grand Exchange acts and the way the items act is very different. Actually, it is actually very different in a good way. So there's another reason why I was wanting to show you guys this is because the fact that for you to start flipping on old school RuneScape would not even be a bad thing at all. And honestly, if you dislike flipping on RuneScape 3, or you're worried about losing money on RuneScape 3, old school RuneScape is a much easier marketplace as far as not losing any money. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a random item right now. And this right here is a legit item that I did used to flip on RuneScape, and this was an item that I was flipping on my old school RuneScape account for a little while before I found better items. Because simply put, do a bunch of research, find good items on old school RuneScape that you can do overnight, that are solid overnight, that are never going to change. Well, they might change, maybe. Obviously, you can't say never, but they're likely to stay in the good range for a very long time. Rune Boots was one of those. So what I used to do, guys, honestly, is I used to buy these for like 7,000. Or roughly something like that. I'm not going to give the exact numbers away because that won't do you guys much good anyway, because of the fact that other people would end up overcutting and undercutting. But Bought these for right around 7,000 each, and I would put an offer in for like 1,000 of them, and I would just let the offer sit overnight. Now, obviously, this could take more than one night to fill, but I would just let it sit there and I would just let it fill. And I really wouldn't worry about taking the money out. You know, I wouldn't worry about really anything, honestly. So what I would do is I would just put the offer in. So I just click like that, and then boom, Rune Boots in there. I'm buying 1,000 of them for 7,000 gold. Now keep in mind, obviously, you need to have 7 million in order to do this flip right here. But you can always buy 100 of them, or you can buy different items. You don't have to buy this item. I'm just really literally just giving you guys an example. So right here we've got 7 million, and then what I would end up doing though is these Rune Boots would all buy, and then I would end up selling them for profit. Now I'd sell them for like 7,700, 7,800 or so, and then I end up making 700,000 or 800,000 gold on one flip, which if you are a RuneScape 3 player, that ends up being about 4.9 million or higher, because it is roughly 1 to 7 is the ratio for the transfers and conversions. So just by doing that simple, super simple flip right there, I was going to make, you know, right around 5 million in profit, which is awesome. So if you set up like 8 slots, now keep in mind, if you use an item like the Rune Boots, now I know it's, you know, obviously you're gonna have to have a little bit of money on RuneScape, on old school RuneScape to start off going with this, but what you can do is, if you're making 5 million per slot, that's 5 times 8, that's 40 million, which ends up being 280 million RS3. So if it takes a little bit of time for them to fill, that's totally fine. Like, you know, if you put in an offer for 1,000 Rune Boots, the buy limit is low on those, so you're not going to be able to buy them all in one night. So it might take you a few nights, but the thing is, though, is when they're all bought and then they're all sold, if you do that similar thing for all 8 slots, guys, you're literally going to make 280 million profit. And that's just obviously round numbers. That's going by making 5 million per slot. Obviously, the numbers are going to be different per slot depending on what you're buying and what you're selling. Another great item to do, and this was actually one of my very first items that I actually started doing on old school RuneScape, was Rune Hosta. So Rune Hosta, as you see, the actively traded price on this is currently 0, and that's because a lot of people don't really do a whole lot with this. But if you go in here and you buy one, I'll just go ahead and buy one to show you guys an example of what I'm talking about. As you see, the buy instantly buying them is 12,330, and then I'll go ahead and I will throw this in there, and we'll put it in there for low, and we'll see what it sells for. And it goes for 11,970. So the profit margin on that ends up being about 1,260. So if you put an offer in for, you know, 1,000 of these, then you're gonna make quite a bit of money. So let's see. That was 360. So 360,000 gold is what you're gonna make on 1,000 of these. But the thing is, with Rune Hostas and with Rune Boots, both those items, for example, I really don't recommend that you, if you're going to try those, and you can try those, but you know, it would probably be a good idea to look up your own items. If you're going to use those examples, because those literally are 2 examples of things that I did flip when I started up doing flipping on old school RuneScape for overnights. What I recommend doing something more realistic would be something like this. So typing in Rune Hosta again, you know, let's see, I'm gonna go to Rune Hosta. Now, we just saw that they bought for 11,970, so I might actually put an offer for something like 11,402 or whatever. And then what I would do is I'd, you know, buy 1,000 of those. Now, the thing is with this, guys, is the reason why I put 11,402 is because the instant buy and the instant sell is not really something you should always go for old school RuneScape. It's also not something you should always, you know, stick to on a RuneScape 3. But it makes especially a lot of sense for old school RuneScape. And the reason why is because items such as Rune Hosta and Rune Boots, they stay in the same price range quite frequently. So what you got to do is you just have to test and test and test, and then find the perfect buying and the perfect selling. You can probably get a margin closer to 1,000 each on Rune Hosta, maybe even more. So that way, that every time you flip 1,000, you're making 1 million in the slot, which ends up being 7 million old school RuneScape. Or sorry, 7 million RuneScape 3. Also, when I was doing Rune Hostas, the prices were quite a bit different on those. I was buying them for about 12,000, and I was selling them for about 14 or 15,000. So the price on those has dramatically changed since I was doing those. The Rune Boots are about the exact same price. Another great example here, guys, I'll go give you another example here. Another one is Rune Axe. Now, Rune Axe is another one that I did. Now, keep in mind that all 3 of these items I've showed you so far are very, very, very safe items. And they will take several, you know, probably a few days for you to fill up an offer of like 1,000 of trying to buy these. The thing is you're going to make more money if you do higher risk things. And I'll show you a higher risk example here in just a second. But here's another example of another item that I flipped and that is a very safe item. and that was Runescape. So 73.80 is not the price I would sell them for, despite the fact I just instantly bought it for that. I would actually, what I was selling these for is I was selling these for 7,800, and then I was buying them for 7,100. So as you see right here, as I said, the instant buy and the instant sell, not really something to go by. As you see, it doesn't really show you that much of a margin on here. But what I bought them for and sold them for was 7,100 and sold them for 7,800. So that ended up being about a 700, well, and not about, it ended up being a 700 profit each. So if I bought and sold 1,000 of them, I'd make 700,000 gold, which is equal to 4.9 million, which is right around the 5 million per slot. Now, like I said, if you want to make really good money on old school RuneScape, like you want to go better money than that, where you're making like a couple million a night, or maybe $1 million a night in one slot, then what you're going to want to do is go for some more higher risk items. So let me show you an example of a higher risk item. This right here is one that I did. Once again, this is one I did, so I have experience with all these items I'm showing you. Anti-Poison 3. Anti-Poison 3, guys, is 253 on the mid right now. If I go in here and I instantly buy this, let's see, instantly buy for 350. As you can see, the price is way above the Grand Exchange. It's actually 350 gold is the instant buy, which means if I put those in for 350 gold, they would probably sell. It's also above the actively traded prices shows there. Let's see, put this in for minimum, and goes for 250. So as you can see right here, guys, this item right here has a much larger margin, but it also comes with much larger risk because the fact that anti-poisons constantly are changing in price, and recently they were actually dropping quite a bit in price. But for every 1,000 of these you flip, going by these prices is going to be 100,000 gold. For every 1,000 you flip is going to be 100,000 gold. For every 10,000 of these you flip is going to be $1 million gold in profit. That changes quite frequently. You could probably put in an offer in here for like 211 each buying, and then selling for like 399 each, and it might fill. Doing the higher risk item is going to end up giving you more money in the end, but just keep in mind that you do run the chances of losing money. The way that I got to 100 million gold is I'll be honest with you. As soon as I hit about 60 million gold to 70 million gold, the amount of gold I was making per night greatly increased. So it was going, very, very, very slow from like 1 GP to about 20 million. It sped up at about 20 million and then sped up quite a bit more at 70. And at this point of doing and like having 100, I do usually typically make about 6 to 7 million gold per night, and that is how much I'm currently doing. So that 6 to 7 million gold per night is and it ranges. Sometimes I've been lucky enough. There was one night I was lucky enough to make like 15 million gold, and that gave me a huge boost in speed. But the only thing is, though, is that doesn't usually happen. It typically ends up being, somewhere between 3 and 7 million is what I'll earn. Like sometimes if I wake up and I hop on and I'm like, oh man, that's not great. So something I wanted to say about too, honestly. Well, first of all, what I want to show you guys is my bank. So if anyone is like, oh, you're just showing us those items because you want us to buy those items or flip those items, I don't. Oops, that's the Grand Exchange. I don't currently have any of those items. This is right here is my entire bank. So just to show you guys, I don't really have much more than the 101 million that I'm showing you. So let's see what we got right here. We got a rune boot in there. We've got some rares that aren't worth anything on old school. And then I've got my burnt food collection. Oh yeah, burnt food. So that's really all I've got in here. That's my entire bank. There's not really any of these items I'm like trying to hold on to or anything like that. I do frequently change up what I personally flip. I'm not always flipping the exact same items every single night. And I do for the most part recommend that. But what I recommend on old school RuneScape for you to do is to find good items, flip those each night, and then when they start to die down, when they start to not do that great, take a note of them, write down what was good, and then go try to find some new items. Come back to those items later on when they maybe have recovered. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you're interested in more videos with old school RuneScape, including flipping or something like that, then put in the comments below that you enjoyed this. Put in the comments below that you want to see more videos related to RuneScape, old school RuneScape flipping, and I will definitely for sure do that for you guys. But like always, I do appreciate a like, and if you would like to be a subscriber for future content, feel free to do so, and I will see you guys in the next video. You have a good one.